the nitty-gritty. Conversations get real live, it's time for the nitty-gritty. The revolution's not televised, it's time for the nitty-gritty. Reaching out to your conscious mind, it's time for the nitty-gritty. More than talking, we taking action, it's time for the nitty-gritty.
G, we up. YouTube, we up. Facebook always the slowest. Facebook, we up. You know we always got the hot tunes over here at the Nitty Gritty Show. This is Dwele, a little kickback for y'all. Sketches of a Man is the album. The song is Free as a Bird, 2008. This is with KOCH Records. This is actually a dope album, period.
Dwele's very underrated. He was first Neo Soul. Like he was the first.
Yeah, he was probably like
the first wave.
Before they started making money from Neo Soul, before it became popular to go to Spirit Fest.
He was on the NDRE Music Soul Challenge.
Yeah.
He just wasn't up with them, but he was on the first.
He was there. He was there, definitely.
The first wave.
If y'all don't know about Dwele, man, y'all sleeping, man. He represents for Detroit real hard, you know? I got no stranger next to me, Stephen Powell.
Hello, hello.
Extended family of the Nitty Gritty Show. It's your boy Jay DaCosta. Your girl Katniss couldn't be here tonight. She had a super busy weekend, so she's taking a little night to rest. So we in good hands with my man Steve here. Alright, you want to listen to more of that, you can get your own Apple Music or your own title, alright? And make sure you give that some streams. Cause nobody buys anything anymore. You know what I'm saying? Y'all ain't gonna buy it. Least you can do is give it a stream, right? Or shoot, give it a view on YouTube. You know that even that might help.
Right.
Now do it on the official page though, so that way the artist gets some kind of credit. You know? Oh no, what happened to my? Oh, never mind. There it is. It's still there. I thought we disappeared for a second. I was like, oh man, what happened? What happened? So look, man, we got an interesting little show for y'all today. We're gonna be talking about a few things. We're gonna talk about Malik Yoba. That boy is real special these days. You know what I'm saying?
Acting different.
Acting real different. You know. Then also we have the Revolt Music Conference. This was about 2 weeks ago. I know you guys are like, man, Nitty Gritty y'all late, but I think sometimes it's good to digest some information first before you start giving your opinion on it. You know, let some stuff settle in your system before you start running your mouth. Also, a lot of stuff in the news about Donald Trump, Joe Biden, right? You know, Ukraine saying this. You know, other countries are saying that. They saying they all crooked. I'm saying, you know, there's other options right now. Democratic primaries are not until February, so if you're not feeling Joe Biden, guess what? You got other people you can rock with. A lot of people out there. And then, of course, we're going to end on cuffing season. I know it's about that time. It's officially fall as of the 21st. The weather's starting to drop in some places. Shoot, we got whole blizzards in Montana right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, that, you know, a little something to think about, you know? Oh, what's up? I see White B up there on the IG, you know what I'm saying?
You know the vibes.
Yeah, that's right. Support your man, Slim. I see you.
What's poppin', mommy?
Yeah. So, so we got a lot to talk about. But before we get started, man, let's catch up with my man Steve. How you been, bro?
I've been good, man. Been really good. Just really been working. Locked into a lot of things coming up for the next year.
That's what's up.
We got 90 days left.
90 days of the year, y'all.
So I'm treating every day like it means the world. I'm preparing for 2020. I'm already in that
Lon, what's up?
First quarter mind frame, just really locked in and working hard to get to where I need to get to.
That's what's up. And you know, a lot of people are gonna start saying, you know, new year, new me. Look, every minute, every second of every day, you have an opportunity to change and make better for yourself. Please do not wait till 2020 to start working out, maybe eating right, getting your finances together, paying off bills, making more responsible choices, getting closer to God. Whatever it is you want for your life that you desire, start right now. If you want to start reading more, as soon as the Nitty Gritty Show, so just delay it by 1 more hour, and pick up a book, right? No, but seriously, like everybody, you can start succeeding starting today. Let's not wait till January 1st of 2020 and start it. You can still make this. You said last year this was gonna be your year, so you still got 90 days in this year to accomplish that goal. So I want to see y'all do that. All right, a lot of time, right?
A lot of time left.
Yeah, so go ahead and do that. Get up off your feet. Stop sitting on your holy aspirations. Ha! That's what the pastor would have said. You know what I'm saying? You would get a lot of claps for that. Amen. All right, so let's get ready to dig into this though, right? Cool. So first thing, Malik Yoba, man.
Yeah.
You saw the whole thing, right?
I did. I've seen everything he's been doing lately.
Everything. So interesting. And, you know, a lot of people run around here calling them derogatory names. That ain't no point, but his behavior is unbecoming of a man, period. And a lot of people are like, well, what do you mean by that, Juan? What do you mean by that? What I mean by that is, like the whole storming off the set, he has made a choice. Or in some ways, he might believe he was born into a sexual choice. Whatever the case is, that doesn't really matter. He is now telling everyone in all these interviews, he's doing all these rounds to say he's finally living his truth. He's stepping up, not coming out. He's a lover of people. Key thing here, I say that one for last, a lover of people, but then he's had such a rude and extra attitude in some of these interviews. And he's been in the game far too long to be acting like this.
Yeah, I think so. Whomever he decides to spend his time with intimately, I don't really care about.
Ain't my bedroom. It's my business.
It's how he has, in my personal opinion, manipulated the narrative and the struggle that I know for a fact a lot of trans people are facing. Like, I don't know if you saw the Breakfast Club interview.
I saw that.
He tried to dominate. He didn't even let the folks that were
actually
really dealing with the issue talk.
Yeah, him and the gay dude just kept on talking.
He was dominating the entire conversation. And then the thing that happened with the root, there have been some allegations about him strolling down certain streets in New York City and picking up underage trans people. And, my mother always told me when somebody gets defensive, that's what a lie is. Man. So those, and we don't know anything about those accusations. We heard them, but his reaction to the accusations, it just leaves a lot to the imagination as to whether or not they're true. But his actions as of late, his manipulation of the entire struggle that trans folks are going through, it's been really, really, just for me, very disgusting. It's disingenuous. I don't like it. I think in this, as it relates to this particular topic, he's being an absolute fraud. I feel the same way about him now that I did about Terry Crews with the Me Too movement. Is someone trying to manipulate a struggle that a certain group of people have been dealing with long before their one encounter. So that's just where I am with Malik Yoba at the moment.
And then, the thing about Malik Yoba with the whole underage thing, I think people realize, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, but a lot of this, him being more so open with this whole situation started about 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. Around that same time is when the allegations of him messing with the underage trans woman started bubbling under the surface, very much so under the surface. The reason why it was so under the surface is like, what relevant had he done anyways recently? So nobody really cared about it anyways. He's like a B-list, darn near a C-list, D-list celebrity or whatever, right?
B-list, yeah.
Right? So, and then there was always rumors back in the New York undercover days,
sure.
About where he was at. So I think he tried to pull a Kevin Spacey. He tried to get ahead of it. You remember, Kevin Spacey, when they found out that he was harassing young men on various sets that he'd been a part of, he tried to come out ahead of time and say, all right, yeah, I'm gay. Right? As if, I guess he assumed LGBT, plus, whatever. They was going to accept him, by him coming out gay, but that didn't even work for him, because at the end of the day, taking sexual advantage of people, harassing people, what have you, it's wrong. And I think we need to be non-biased in how we handle sexual offenders. You get what I'm saying? It doesn't matter if we cool with them. It doesn't matter if we went to church with them. If you're going to act in that way, and when those questions come to you, and when it's time for you to face up to what you've done, you don't sit around and throw tantrums and get upset about it, because you're getting called out on, as you stated before, manipulating the system. I'll be curious to see what you guys think about the subject. I know we have a couple of ladies watching. I'll be curious to see what y'all think. I would like your insight on it. because I think sometimes our women have a different viewpoint on things, and there's a very value viewpoint, especially dealing with our community. But yeah, I just think like how he's been acting has been really weird. I thought it was weird that he didn't sit next to the trans woman that he has been associated with. He purposely positioned her in the Breakfast Club interview a certain way. The cussing and carrying on at the root, you know, I guess, and I think it's something weird. It's like, you know, like when you get to these interviews, I guess his main obsession, for those that don't know, during the root interview, they asked him about allegations of him sleeping with underage women. He was frustrated by that because I guess they had came to an agreement, 4 hours of going through the questions and trying to prepare their angle beforehand, and I guess the interviewers at the root deviated from what they had initially agreed upon, and he got upset. And you can see that they never really had their story together, even when they was in the Breakfast Club, because he's saying, "Oh no, I'm not coming out, I'm stepping up." No, bro. I mean, you are traditionally known to come out, and I think that's something that certain communities need to know. People are not going to always get your lingo, and I've been saying this because I know there's been a lot of things coming from the trans community, especially where, you know, there's some entitlement words. There's there's this idea of trying to force people to accept how they've come to the conclusion of their lifestyle. I think as humans, we need to get away from that whole idea of trying to force people to accept our ideals. We got to get away from, if you're a Christian, you can't force somebody to be Christian. You could go ahead and try to convert, but if somebody denies, I mean, all right, move on and go to the next one, right? And, or, you know, as a black man, there's things, all I want basically from my white counterparts in America is, hey, understand it's wrong if my hands are lifted and someone shoots me, right? Because of the color of my skin. Don't deny me service if I walk through your building. Don't not promote me or hire me for services. If I've put everything on my resume that I need, I want to be able to get the job if I'm the best man for it. This basic, this human being stuff. Now, if Malcolm X is not a hero to you, that's fine. I can't force that down your throat. If you don't believe that the first man was black, even though scientifically we can prove that, but if you have certain ideologies, that's fine. I can't force feed you what I teach in my home or what I believe to you. And I think something that we can do to bridge a better gap with members of our society that are of LGBT plus is that, look, not everyone's going to accept how you've come to whatever realization of what you've chosen to do or what you feel like you were born as. But I can agree that it's wrong for someone to do physical harm. It's wrong for someone to deny you service or to deny you employment because of a choice you've made, or, you know, whatever you call that. You get what I'm saying? But don't burn me at the stake when I say it's a choice, because I may not believe from your perspective what you're doing, but I can support your right as a human being to decide to make whatever choice you want for your life. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm not going to force feed my ideologies down your throat. And I think that's just something that, I don't know, I think we need to look at. It kind of brings us to one of the next topics we're going to go into. But
for me, I just don't want to hear Malik Yoba be the town crier for a struggle that he's not dealing with. And he's trans attracted. He's not trans. I don't want to hear from him. Newsflash: there are a lot of straight men who are attracted to transsexual women. I don't want to hear from them. Yeah, I don't need him to champion a struggle that he's not a part of. He's not struggling with that. He doesn't deal with the discrimination, the physical harm. He doesn't. I don't. It's just.
It wasn't really his fight.
It's not his fight. It just breeds of desperation to be back in the public eye. And you talk about Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey at the time was on the hottest TV show outside of
the network. House of Cards can't win nothing now, boy. Like they
nobody was chatting for Malik Yoba, but he inserted himself into a conversation because it's popular right now to be an ally to any struggle. But there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't think he's an ally. I don't think he's an ally. I think it's a cover up. I think there were things that they were going to come out about him that nobody was looking for. That, like Kevin Spacey, he got ahead of, that he didn't even have to get ahead of because nobody would have cared.
Yep. And it actually he drew more attention to himself as a result.
And drawn attention away from the struggle that the trans community is actually trying to fight.
Yeah, if that's what they're fighting for, then yeah, I don't think he's a proper advocate. Same thing, I could say, something similar happened like this on Facebook earlier this week. Katrina had posted a post about something about child labor in the trans community. And I think it would have been appropriate for someone in the trans community to comment. The question was to women or mothers, right? And then you had a gay guy on there, you know, jumping down. And it's like, but, you know, this question is not to men. It doesn't matter if you're gay or straight. They ain't really trying to hear from us how they feel about XYZ thing going on. This was a question to mothers. And if you are a mother, that was the time for you to comment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It works in every facet, you know?
You can't have a productive conversation about a certain sect of the community without someone from that community representing the community in the conversation.
Yeah, it's
You know
kind
what
of
I'm saying? Like, it's like if there was a roundtable about economics in the black community, and everybody at the roundtable were Jewish white men. Well, what's going to get accomplished there? Because no one from the community that is affected by these certain standards and practices, they're not represented. So what's the point?
Exactly. So let's switch it up a little bit. Let's talk about a conference that was had about 2 weeks ago, where people from the community. Hey, what's up, Chris? The McKinneys are officially in the building.
What's going on, McKinneys?
So let's talk about a time where we actually had all the people that matter in the same room. And one thing I enjoyed about the Revolt Music Conference, or I guess it was just the Revolt conference. It was a music conference. It's a Revolt conference. One thing I enjoyed is that they did something that, newsflash, we've been doing at the Nitty Gritty Show from the very beginning, is that we'll bring in people from the culture, but sometimes people from the culture have varying opinions.
Right.
And I enjoyed the fact that they had Tamika there, and I enjoyed the fact that they had Candace there. Because one thing we've been asking, I really didn't like the fact that people wouldn't give them room to talk. Because I honestly wanted to hear what answer they might give. Just like, for instance, even if I knew I was going to possibly agree with it, when giving them a chance to be on their forum, when we could really hear, because they always say we cut them off, we only get snippets. Right. This was a real chance for us to hear, all right, speak your piece, let me know. Now, one thing I can say about Candace after watching the whole thing and seeing multiple interviews of hers, she's not as smart as she thinks she is. She may be a free thinker, and she's allowed to support Trump if she wants to, and we'll get more into that, the idea of supporting any candidate. But she has the right to think or act as how she believes. That's the right that we fight for, right? That's, I mean, we fight for the right to vote. We didn't fight for the right to vote Republican at the time because that's what black folks were doing, or we didn't fight for the right to continue to vote Democrat. Now you fight for the right to vote, and black people can vote however they decide to vote. We're not a monolith of people. But I didn't like the fact that people were booing her before she had a chance to talk, because then it's like, do you really get a chance to hear? But I think Killer Mike made a lot of her points for her, but she didn't know how to articulate those points.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? She was just kind of like hopping on the bandwagon. For those that haven't seen the Revolt conference, you really should, because I think this was a very intelligent dialogue between people of the culture, and from people of our generation and people from our community. And not everybody from the community or the culture thinks the same. I think that was important. I see Chris has a comment. He said, why do y'all think transgender is not treated as a mental health issue? Well, according to the, what do they call that? The DMD, it is a mental health issue right now classified, unless it's been changed. And that's that be hating on any community or whatever. I'm just stating the fact. I think it is considered that. Chris said, what's up, my bad, late comment. No, you're all good, brother. You can always comment here at the Nitty Gritty Show. Yeah, I think in the DMD, being trans is still considered a mental issue. I think it's delicate. I think once they ratify whatever they need to with trans, they do need to ratify other things. Like Rachel Dolezal, and I'm not trying to be funny or minimize anything going on, but Rachel Dolezal needs to be considered black, you know, when it's all said and done. I think the only thing that confuses me sometimes about the movement, and if we have anybody trans watching this, please enlighten me, DM me. I'm always open to be educated. Because I'm not saying that everyone in the trans community feels this way, because once again, I don't think they're a monolith as well. But I do find it interesting that we'll call Rachel Dolezal crazy. When Dave Chappelle, I think it was Dave Chappelle did the skit about the young black man that said he was white, it was laughed at, but then they said like he was crazy. But I think with some of the rationales that are used...
Well, he was blind.
Yeah, oh yeah, he was blind.
Basically was blind.
Yeah.
So he
but I think, you know, if someone wakes up and says, you know, all my life I thought I was white, I mean, you know, the idea of how trans would work in gender could it not work in race.
Yeah, I'm not the mental thing. I'm not sure where that's going, where that's coming from. You know, people love who they love. They identify who they want to identify as. I'm not here to really talk about that. But you're talking about the Candace Owens.
Yeah. Getting back to where we were at, like Candace Owens, I think, and something that was talked about there for those that haven't seen it, there was this. Killer Mike made a great point. He was talking about how the idea that these were all free people, and at one point the debate got heated, and they were arguing over Trump versus Barack Obama, or versus this Democratic candidate, or what have you. And Killer Mike made the point that all of these black people were fighting over who had the better master.
Yeah.
And I do believe that's true. I think it's a very deep point. Part of the corruption of American politics is that you have to pick one side or the other. And the truth is, as a black man who has voted Democrat the last 3 elections, actually the last 4 elections, I can understand how someone would just assume the Democrats are just getting our vote. But I will say this, that's just because the particular Democrats I voted for at the time, I feel like had most of my interests. But I can never say there's been a single candidate that held all of my interests. Not even Barack Obama held all of my interests. But when I compare him against who he was running to, I can always say, like, every single time, yeah, that's my man. That's who I'm voting for. Yeah. He has my best interest at heart. And that goes for local elections as well. I think that's why it's important that we engage Republicans or listen to those forums as well. Don't just assume you don't want everybody. I'm looking at the last election. John Kasich, looking at the Republican primary, would have been a good pick. If we had John Kasich going against Hillary or even against, the old head.
Biden.
Yeah, not Biden.
Sanders.
Sanders.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a solid election where you're really looking at people that's going to bring actual ideas to try to make America work.
Yeah. And that's one of the things, albeit Candace making her point about, and Killer Mike too, about their allegiance, about black folks' allegiance to a particular political party. And a lot of us don't understand that the majority of us are our ancestors, the Frederick Douglasses, the W. Du Bois, the Booker T. Washingtons, they were Republicans. Mm-hmm. So it's so funny. This is a whole nother show we can do about self-reliance and about things that Killer Mike was saying about learning how to kill your own food, fish for your own fish. These things that a lot of the folks that came before us knew how to do, but now we don't know how to do. So, talk about Killer Mike. Segregation wasn't a bad thing for us. Because we had our own communities.
We had our own doctors.
We had our own economic system.
Yep.
We had our own doctors. We had our own schools.
Our own banks.
So as much as white folks didn't want integration, the lot of us didn't want it either because we were good. Like we didn't really need that.
And I think the problem with integration, when it concerns the black community, is that after integration, once we were allowed to use those bathrooms, those water fountains, and those businesses, we actually forsake. The idea wasn't that we would forsake our own. The idea was that, okay, no, you give us the ability to go where we want to as tax-paying citizens, but we could still maintain our own. And I think that's something that Martin Luther King started hinting at before he passed away. People don't highlight a lot of those speeches that he had about getting off of welfare, us being self-reliant, not bringing in the United States government into a lot of our personal affairs, but trying to handle those our own. These are things he was speaking on that align with a lot of the stuff that Malcolm X spoke on.
Yeah, but they only pull up the I Have a Dream speech.
Yeah, because this whole idea of community and everybody getting along, which is just a piece or a small portion of everything you believe. Chris said, I question why Candace is so bent on not voting as a Democrat now with Trump in office. I think it's an opportunistic thing, Chris. I think that Candace Owens is doing that because she knows that it gets more light to her. She was a hard-nosed liberal, not just voting Democrat, but she was a hard-nosed liberal. She's saying that Trump woke her up. Hey, she's allowed to have her opinion, but I strongly disagree with her. I think that a lot of her stuff that she's saying is straight foolish. I think you can ignore. She's saying that we only take portions of what Trump say and we create a narrative out of portions, but this man is tweeting all the time. And there's a difference from coming back later and apologizing. This was brought up during the conference. There's a difference between coming back, saying something stupid, and then coming back later and saying, no, I meant right? But that's always the case with him. It's always him to come back later and say, no, what I meant was. And that's only after he catches some heat. So it makes me start to believe after a while, no, that first thing you're saying is really what you believe. Because how many times are you going to say sorry for saying something that was implicit on being racist or possibly disturbing to members of the community that you're supposed to serve? Being in office is not a position of being praised, it's a position of servitude. And I think we get away from that.
You would be surprised. There was when Dave Chappelle came back out, he had a line where he was at the voting booth. Trump got elected. He said all these poor white folks there, and he said it was funny to him because they thought that Trump was for them.
Yeah.
But he said Trump is for me. So you'd be surprised how many black celebrities, how many black folks that are in that top 1% voted for Trump because they are prioritizing their economic interests before anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So not knowing what Candace Owens makes, but just making an assumption, economically, Trump is a better president for rich black folks. I hate to break it to y'all.
I mean, if you make over $250,000 a year,
is a better economic president for folks who are in the top 1%,
or anybody who is day trading, or anybody who has a Roth IRA, or if you have a 401k. He was the better president.
There's some Democratic candidates that are talking
not
about
saying that he's a good president,
at
but
60-70%. So monetarily, money is here. Everything else falls, is under that. So if I'm making $300,000 a year gross, shit, I'm probably going to vote for the nigga that don't want to tax me at 60% because that's my earnings. So when we act, and I'm just going to say it. If we had the voting records of all of the black celebrities and all the black folks that were rich, I think a lot of you all would be shocked.
And I think what people don't realize is they don't educate themselves on the issues. Republicans, as of the 1940s when the switch was made, Republicans have always been more so about being fiscally responsible, right?
And self-reliant.
And you can't ignore the fact that they see, the problem with the Republicans is this. While their fiscal responsibilities and how they manage the budget may be better than most, except for when they're war hawking. But then again, they're doing that because of money as well, because the money we make from other countries that pay us to intervene, i.e. the whole issue we have going on with Trump right now in Ukraine, that there was a deal or a possible insinuation made that, hey, unless you give me dirt on Biden and his son, I'm going to withhold aid dollars that you're looking for. So America, in a lot of ways, we operate as a business on a political level sometimes as far as the aid we get in certain countries. There's a reason why we come to the aid of certain people because they got the money to give us. Countries like Saudi Arabia, they don't have a very well established military, but what they do have is very well established gold and money and backed in oil from a long time. So they can pay for countries like the United States and the UK and France to come and back them up. They got money, so therefore they'll always have a little bit of an army because there's always a country out there that can be bought. We're one of them.
Yeah, I think Killer Mike said it best, and Candace Owens tried to articulate it. Black folks' allegiance to the Democratic Party has to start. Like, I'm registered as an independent. There are conservative views that I hold. There are liberal views that I hold. But there's just certain things that we have to do our own. And again, Bull Connor, one of the most staunch critics of civil rights, was a Democrat in Alabama. So, Democratic Party, Republican Party, neither one of them are the parties for black folks. It's just what we can take away from, like you said. What candidate aligns most with my views?
Yep.
And if Candace Owens prioritizes economics and keeping the majority of her pay, then unfortunately for her, in the black space, Donald Trump is a candidate that she should choose to vote for. And
then also, just take it a step further, I think we have to be a little bit more strategic about how we vote. We can't blindly align ourselves to either party. And this is the reason why. I already know, if I'm being strategic, if I want a certain law to pass, because think about it like this, 80 to 90% of Americans agree on weapons controls, as far as like background checks, things of that nature. 80 to 90% of Americans agree on universal pre-K. These are issues that we all agree on, and not 80 or 90% of all Americans are voting for either one party. We see that in every election. So then what's going wrong? Well, we're not being strategic at the local level. When we're voting for our congressman, or when we're voting for a governor, or when we're voting for some state representative, we're automatically just choosing every Democrat down the list, or we're choosing every Republican down the list. Well, here's the problem, and this is the problem with doing that. there may be a Republican in Tennessee that better suits your needs as a black person. As a super liberal black person, there may be that individual that best supports your needs. Right? But when we don't take advantage of saying, like, oh, let me pay attention to who actually supports what I'm about, we lose. And I think in some areas like Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, Ohio, we might need to have people like us infiltrate the Republican Party and become a candidate there and get behind a candidate within the Republican Party to support your interests, so that when they go to Washington, we don't care if 60% of the House is Democrat, or we don't have to worry if so many percent of the Senate is Republican, because if they all represent your views, they're going to vote the things you want in regardless.
And you know, it's funny that you say that too, because when we talk about political parties, you hear a lot of arguments that conservatism is rooted in racism. Mm-hmm. And again, I hate to burst a lot of people's bubbles, but politics in itself is rooted in racism. The Democrats were not created for black folks, neither are Republicans. We were not considered.
Neither one of us.
And so there should be no reason that we can't, as an individual voter, as an individual contributor to society, take stock of both, of any party, whether it be Democrat, Republican, Green, Independent, Libertarian, whatever the case may be. The political system was not built to include us anyway. I don't give a shit about anyone including me in their political process. I don't care about inclusion. I care more about excellence. I'm not trying to be like white folk. I want to be better than I was yesterday. Politics was not built for us. So Juan and Kilmark are absolutely right. You have to take stock of the candidates that are in front of you, regardless of party affiliation, and say to yourself, for me and my family, how do we align with candidate X? How do we align with candidate Y? And take away the party affiliation, because you can end up messing yourself up. Because what if right now, if you make $70 grand a year, you work for Bernie, you're like, oh yeah, tax 60%. Now 3 years into his presidency, you're making $370. You're like, damn, you taxing me 76? Nah, this is what you voted for.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have the foresight to see in yourself that you were going to get to a place where it would start to affect you.
Yeah, we definitely have to think long term, big picture. Chris has made some good comments here. He said, I agree that we shouldn't always vote party line, but 2020 isn't the time to promote voting for Republicans. I think that's a good point you made, because I know a lot of people are thinking that, and we're going to address it. Also, Chris said, it's going to backfire because it's going to split the vote. Trump's going to end up back in office. Chris also said, I say vote straight ticket in 2020.
It's hard to unseat a sitting president, especially hard to unseat a sitting president
where the economy is generally good, right?
So barring a total default of the economic structure of what we have, I hate to break it to you, Chris, it looks like you signed up for another 4 years of that nigga in the White House.
So look, it's probably a true statement. So it's kind of like, okay, so what's the strategy, right? I agree with Chris. I don't think Trump is good for America as a whole, because even his trickle down, because like he's only good for rich Americans. At least previous Democrats before, if you were at least making 100,000, he was still good for you. Chris was laughing at your comment.
I'm telling you, Oprah, Diddy, Jay-Z, I'm gonna tell you what's on their 2016 ballot. It ain't Sanders. It ain't with the lady that was on
Hillary. Yeah,
no.
Hillary Clinton.
No, and then another thing too, these people have pictures with this dude. Like Trump has. Well,
and to try to maybe assist them a little bit there, Snoop Dogg made a good point, about Donald Trump being in these pictures.
Another rapper who got a picture with him.
Yeah, that's why I think it's important that he brought up the point. He had said on multiple interviews, he's like, look, yeah, people bring up him being in pictures with them, but Snoop also made it clear to folks, he's like, listen, these billionaires, not just Donald Trump, multiple billionaires, they pay for swag. They pay to have a rapper close. Think about it. Robert Kraft, I'm going to use him as an example. Robert Kraft, before he started hanging out with Meek, before he started hanging out with Jay and all these other rappers, what was the Patriots being accused of? Being pretty much like a racist.
Being America's team, which America's team as whites only.
The white team. Yeah. So therefore, black folks in general in the culture voted against or rooted against America's quote-unquote white team, right? He didn't like that stigma. All of a sudden, Robert Kraft, smarter than like the Dan Snyders and all them of the world, he was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and get one of these rappers real quick. What What would a Robert Kraft want to do with a Meek Mills? Now, I'm happy that maybe some things have been made clear to him by having that relationship. I'm never going to knock relationships. I will knock a photo op. And I think Donald Trump has done it, and I think a lot of them have done the photo op thing. But I will never knock relationships, because you know what? Lyndon B. Johnson wasn't our man, Kennedy was. But when Kennedy got assassinated, and I bring this point up all the time, but it's important, Martin Luther King never stopped making people work for him. If you get voted to the office, whether I voted to you or not, voted for you or not, if you're the governor of Alabama, if you're the congresswoman in D.C., or you're a sheriff in Texas, if I have to vote you in, if my tax dollars pay for your job, you have a right to serve me. What we do too often in our community is we say, you know what? It looks uncool for me to be around this, what we would say a cracker, right? We be like, oh, don't talk to him, don't be around him. But meanwhile, that person is there to work for you. Yeah, you didn't vote for him. No, you don't like his ideas, but guess what? He has to support your ideas if you keep on writing them letters. You keep showing up, picking him, he gonna get real worried about next year election cycle. Especially if we're activated during the term of his presidency or
that means
whatever.
For your local elections for sure. But back to your Robert Kraft statement, and I'm not a billionaire or millionaire, but I just, from what I see, people don't get that rich without taking advantage of situations of other people. So when we say why did Kraft align himself with Meek Mill, we don't know how much money those initiatives that he put in place and how many other new connections that got him. We also have to get out of this mindset that billionaires have some type of civic and social responsibility to do anything for anybody, white or black. They are businessmen first. Now, if they choose to be Bill Gates and give half their money away, or Mark Zuckerberg and give half their money away, all of it, that's on them. But they don't have to do shit. They
made their own individual money, and that's their money. They can do with it. Just like half of y'all don't want to pay y'all tithes, and that's your choice, right?
Robert Kraft, if Meek Mill, if aligning himself with Meek Mill gets Meek Mill out of the situation and makes Robert Kraft another $10 billion, guess what? That was a win-win situation, and it is what it is.
Chris makes a good point here. I love the involvement of our online guests, but Chris said, "Keep hope alive. I want to believe people are better than that," and I believe you. I think there's nothing wrong with hope and trying to fight for the mindset of better people. Chris also said, "Sports and entertainment until we even." Jay-Z.
So what does he mean by our people? He's talking about like rich black folk?
I think he's talking about just black folks in general.
Oh, okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong though, Chris, but yeah, I mean, and I think just the strategy going forward is we don't need to become complacent when our person wins, because I think a lot of us did that with Barack Obama. Barack Obama got in, and then we dropped the ball on local elections, because I think during the Obama years is when the Republicans took the House. And once again, I think we need to get out the mindset of just because Democrats are in office or just because Republicans are in office, we can't pass legislation that can benefit us, because that can happen as long as we're involved. But involvement, and I'm sorry, and it's more than just voting. You have, and I know I'm asking a lot, and I am going to ask a lot. You have to vote, and you have to show up. And what I mean by show up is after the voting is done, it doesn't matter who gets that seat, sheriff, judge, alderman, all the way up to president. You press them out to make sure that we get the things we need. If you need universal pre-K, if we need universal health care, if we need whatever the situation is, don't throw words like socialist on top of it. Don't throw words like conservative or liberal on top of it. It's just these are the concerns of American people. And yes, that includes black people, right? And we need to make sure that the people representing America are really looking out for all of America. And parts of America, us as black people, because that's what I'm talking to at the moment, we can't decide we're not going to participate in our country, what we fought for, what our ancestors have bled for and died for. We can't decide we're not going to participate in certain aspects of our democracy when we don't like the person sitting in office. We got to press them out, just like we should be pressing out the person we voted for. But half the time, the person we vote for, we just happy that our man won, and then we don't do anything to make sure, hey, are you still representing my needs?
Jesse Jackson was out there in 2008 crying as Martin Luther King came back from the dead.
But this is somebody that also told Barack Obama to eat a dick. I mean, I'm not trying to be crude with my language.
So when you brought up the ancestors died for us, and I don't want to contradict what you're saying, because I think you're absolutely correct in a lot of ways. But do we know if our ancestors died for us to be a part of the system or to create our own and be free from the system that we're already in? And I'm
probably
super Marcus Garvey here. I'm really.
But no, most of them actually did fought for the exact thing you said though.
Right.
Most of them fought for us to have a fair shot, not to be dependent. Because let's be honest, slaves were dependent on their masters for their food, for their economy. So it's something to say that when we have failed relationships and we fail our children by getting involved in the system, right? And letting the system decide how a man will communicate with his kids or how much money a man has to give to his kids, but not considering how that money is spent and making sure that we have a relationship with our children to build up character. Because you can throw all the money in a situation that you want to, but if there's no character behind it, it goes nowhere. And I think what happened is we've allowed the federal government, whether they're Republicans or whether they're Democrats, whether they're conservatives or liberals, become the fathers of our community when we throw it in their hands. And I do not believe that was the intention of Malcolm X, Kwame Ture, Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, Frederick Douglass, and so many others. Was for us to become complacent and new slaves of a new system.
Marcus Garvey wanted us to repatriate to Africa, so that definitely wasn't his.
Oh no, he was like, let's get up out of here.
Definitely wasn't his.
Take all of our, because there's a truth. Black people or people of color who go to Africa do fare out better. There's this misconception that there's lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my. But there's a lot of opportunity. They will accept your new and fresh ideas over there. And you could create real empires. Not just a bodega. Not just the next vegan cookie shop. I'm talking about oil. I'm talking about, like electric and gas.
The same thing that white people allowed to do here. You're absolutely right. Black folks, Black Americans.
Real infrastructure moves.
Are allowed to do that. Not only in Africa, and just believe it or not, there are other parts of the world that are allowed. We can do that too, even in white-dominated cultures. You know what I mean? Which is ironic considering we make up 13% of the population in America, and we can't do that here. But I just think we've got to be more diligent about our thought process about who we put in office. Now, I agree with Chris and you. I do think Trump is a detriment, not just to Black America, but to America.
To America. I mean, he's literally a security risk.
Socially.
Yeah.
Economically, he's not. And it's been proven to be that. So when I say people are going to put their economic interest above their social constructs, that's why I believe, and and anyone else who understands any foundation of political constructs, he may win another term just based on the fact that the economy is strong. Not necessarily strong for us.
Because it's not, because it's strong. Because the stock market is, the stock market is strong, but the stock market works.
And that's how they grade the economy being strong. It's housing loans, it's Wall Street, it's not wages, it's jobs. It's not underemployment, it's just employment.
Because what they're not considering is that, what was the number? I think it was like 36% of Americans. And the number may be higher than that. If someone can find a stat, you can please feel free to throw it up. But so many more Americans are working 2 or 3 jobs just to make a livable wage.
But they're counted as being gainfully employed.
Because the number of people unemployed are down,
Right.
So I think we have to take a deeper dive into what those numbers mean. So, no, Trump is not good for the economy, but often when you're looking at the metrics of what a thing is, and this is something important, there's a book called The Infinity Game. And what they talk about is the difference between Apple and Microsoft. And everybody knows me, I'm an Xbox, Android kind of guy, right? Team Samsung, Team Microsoft. But it was something interesting. When he was studying this, the author was studying these 2 different companies, he noticed that Apple, when he talked to Apple, what their goal was, Apple's goal was to be technological innovators. They weren't caring about the competition. They was just like, at Apple, this is what they're going to do. When they asked Apple about the Zoom, at the time there was a music player that Microsoft made was a Zoom. I loved it. It was a better product. And when they asked the people at Apple about it, they said, well, the Zoom is a better product. They admitted to it. They said it's a better product. And they said, you know what? We're going to keep on looking at ways to innovate on what we do in music. They didn't say we're going to beat the Zoom. They was like, we're just going to keep on finding new ways to innovate in music. Right? Then they go to Microsoft. And Microsoft's whole big mission in life was, we gotta beat Apple. They weren't looking at becoming the better technological company, even though they're a solid company. We're not gonna take that away from them. They have dominated software since the day they started making software. However, when you look at the influence that Apple has over Microsoft, there's a vast chasm in comparison to the two as far as who holds the power to culture. You get what I'm saying?
That's true.
And there's something about the infinite game that we must play in life. And sometimes you have to look beyond us versus them, but then you have to start looking at what society do I want. And when you do that as black people, you start looking beyond, well, us versus Republicans or us versus conservatives, because guess what? Some of us are those things. But yet at the same time, there's going to be parts of our life where we're liberal or we're going to be, have to vote Democrat in some regard. So I think Killer Mike's challenge to us to be bigger than this, our conversation versus Democrats versus Republicans or this candidate versus this candidate. But when you start really breaking down the numbers, like when we're talking about the economy, yes, the economy on paper is better, but what does that really mean? And you have to understand the difference. And even though our opinions may seem like they vary here, but you got to understand you are still talking to two men that understand the intricacies of what the economy is. But it's our jobs to make sure we know that. I think Chris made a good point. Civic engagement is a full-time job. For those of us who are engaged, it is our responsibility to represent and educate, I'm going to assume the rest of that said, the masses, or something to that effect, right? And that's right. And I think something that I always do, and I'm kind of heralding something that W.B. Du Bois did, which when he talks about his book, The Talented 10th, right? There's always going to be that 10% of people or that minority of people that are going to go the extra mile for a thing. And I think it's impractical to tell everybody to be engaged. Yes, I want to ask everyone to be engaged, but I know everyone is not going to do it. During the Civil Rights Movement, not all of our grandparents, not all of our great uncles and so forth were getting sprayed in them streets. A lot of people just wanted to be safe and go home. A lot of you people told them to stop being agitators and stop. But it does take a minority sometimes, a small few, to do big things. And I think that's what we need to challenge ourselves to do. It's not about being defeated if Trump gets into office. It's about saying, okay, if he's in office, what am I going to do at the local level? What senator, what congressman, what governor am I going to write to say, hey, if he does X, Y, Z, this is unacceptable. If this is done, if this is said, this is unacceptable, we have to take care of our interests. Yeah. And that's being bigger than the us versus them. That's going to the infinite game. When you start looking like big picture, you know what I mean?
And then when you vote your conscience, you also have to ask yourself, since Trump has been in office, how has Trump's presidency affected myself and my tribe, meaning my family, my wife? Mm-hmm. Since 2016, or since January 20th of 2017, what has happened to myself and my family as a result of Trump being in office? Mm-hmm. And also take that into consideration. It could be bad, it could be good, it could be indifferent, right? But black, white, whatever, you have to ask yourself, okay, it's been almost 3 years now. What changes have happened, and how can I lay that at Donald Trump's feet? For me personally, mm-hmm. Like for me, I can't lay anything that's happened to me, good, bad, or indifferent, at Trump's feet. Anything that has happened to me has just been a result of 100 or plus years of me being black, poor decisions that I've made personally, mm-hmm. and just quite frankly, not being my time. But other people can say different.
Yeah.
So I can't lay that at Trump's feet. You know what I mean? I would never vote for Donald. I never vote for Donald Trump as president. I think it's absolutely asinine that he's in office now. But I have to take stock of my personal life since he's been in office and say, okay, what has changed, and can I lay that at Trump's feet?
Yeah. So and I think that's something that I just want us to be strategic, and we're going to be having, in TNGS, a lot of conversations about voting and trying to be bigger. Hey, what's going on, Mama? I see you. Watching, always supporting. Mama love
Absolutely.
it. Oh, what's up, Brian? What's going on? See, Beezy, for those that really know you. Yeah, thank you for joining on to the show. So yeah, today, just for those that's just joining on, we had a chance to talk about Malik Yoba. I would definitely say, please rewatch this when we repost it. We had conversations to say about his behavior lately on the news.
Trash.
Then yeah, straight trash. And then the conversations we've been having is this idea that really started with the Revolt conference, when we had a lot of educated black people representing various views, which is what the Nitty Gritty show has always been about, mm-hmm. but representing various views and having dialogue and a conversation about America. And I think that in order for us to change America, we have to permeate spaces that may be unpopular or uncharted, meaning more of us should aspire to be police chiefs. If we don't like the way police are policing, then you need to take the job,
Become a cop.
right? Or if you're not going to be a cop, you have to start befriending cops, or at least have relationships with cops.
You gotta change
So
what
that
you don't like.
exactly, that's the only way to change it. You have to do something with it. You just can't complain all day. You got to be active, right? Chris has definitely mentioned this a few times about having proactivity in our community in order to create change. We have to be the change we're looking for. You don't like the fact that prosecutors are giving way too many years for simple offenses like marijuana or drug possession, then guess what? You need to be a prosecutor. I didn't like the idea that T.I. and Killer Mike both believe that if you've been a prosecutor at some point, that you're not electable. And the reason why I don't like that, because not every police officer and not every prosecutor or not every social servant has to submit themselves to a current climate or culture. You can be an advocate for change in anything that you put yourself into. And only way we're going to change the narrative is we can't say that you a sellout when you become a prosecutor or a cop, but then we want to change the relationships we have with these entities. So I definitely disagree with that. I wanted to put that out there. Killer Mike was 100% on everything else. But that idea that, you know, you can't be voted for because you were a past prosecutor is stupid to me. Because let me look at your record and how you actually use that avenue of power.
Right, and I think he was talking more specifically to Kamala Harris. Like,
I mean, of course.
So
Yeah.
generally, I don't agree with him, but as it relates to her, I agree with him. I think she'd be a horrible president, just based on her record, based on her prosecution of those drug offenses that you speak of.
Because everybody wanted to be tough on crime back then. I mean, Joe Biden was the author of
the 90s was you got a
because we were coming off the Reagan and the Bush era, and at the time, and those guys were all tough on crime.
You also coming off Contra and cocaine and Escobar, and these things that made
and
money.
You know, mass shootings in Miami, mass shootings in LA, the gangs being incentivized by crack and drug dealing. The gangs actually were protectors of the community once upon a time. For all those people demonizing gangs, it wasn't always Treyway and 6ix9ine bullcrap. Once upon a time, the gangs actually had our best interests. The folk gangs and the Gangster Disciples in Chicago did a lot of good things for those communities. Balls, all that. Yeah, I mean, those brothers was on point. A lot of their goals and their views align with that of the Black Panthers. But we have to educate ourselves and understand that history.
Larry Hoover's still in prison, by the way.
Yeah, Larry Hoover.
Somebody free that man, but that's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother thing, right?
Larry Hoover did not
countless people
did not deserve to be in Supermax, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just think that there's something to be done there. So let's do something about that. You know, if you're just watching it, please watch it. Give us your comments. You want to know. Before we leave, lighter conversation. But it's that time of the year. It's September 29th. As you know, that means we're like 8 days into fall.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, because the weather doesn't know what it's doing.
Yeah.
Out in Montana somewhere, we got a whole blizzard going on. And then it's going to be 92, 91, and 93 degrees here in D.C. area in the middle of this week. Then it's going to drop down to 68 degrees. Which leads me to what's going to happen soon after that. Cuffing season. So let's talk about cuffing season real quick. We got about 7 minutes. A lot of y'all want to get booed up. So we're going to give you guys some cuffing season advice. If you do not have a Netflix or a YouTube or Originals or a Hulu subscription, you might want to go get yourself one, right? A lot of y'all want to get booed up. Something that me and Katrina noticed as of late is that the churches have been full lately. Sisters have come back to their home, their place of protection. Man, church been packed. Now, you know what I'm saying? Like, we go. There's actually this great event called Kaya at Alpha Street Baptist. Over there in Alexandria.
I live right around the corner from
All right, bet. So, man, somebody got real money. For those that don't know the area. So, look, they've been at church. Yes, Lana, really. They've been at church. The churches have been filled. Sisters have come back to church because the hot girl summer is over, right? A lot of them are asking for forgiveness for all the things they did in the spirit of ratchetness. You have a lot of them thinking like, I don't want these guys that know where all the clubs are. You know, they want to know, like, I want to go hang out with the brother that know how to get good food. And you know what? Brothers at church, brothers who really be at church, they like good food. They know where all the hot restaurants are. They know who got the best chili. Also, you know, to all my big brothers out there, this is your time to shine, okay? Like, sisters want somebody they can get, you know, close to, all right? But Lana said, repent for the fall. I can't. I'm just saying, repent, fall. That's what it is. They back in church right now. They want to be at Bible study. They want to find that brother who participates, who seems articulate, right? Sisters are back at the library again. You can find sisters back at Target again. Folks are starting to settle down. They're trying to get their best picks from the summer if there was a decent one out there. And a lot of them obviously didn't find them. That's why they back at church. And they're trying to find somebody to cuddle up with. It's cuffing season. That's what time it is. I know you got some thoughts on cuffing season. Newly married now, so you cuffed up for life. Clap it up to that. Black men don't cheat. Clap it up for that.
In case you all were unaware, and I might be bursting the bubble here, but niggas are trash in the street, niggas are trash at the club, niggas are trash at the library, and please believe, niggas are trash at church. Doesn't matter where
they can be. They can be. They can be trash anywhere.
Doesn't matter where
you meet all men
are. Doesn't matter where you meet a man. His intentions are going to be.
Brian is clapping that up.
His intentions are going to be his intentions, no matter where you meet him. But I get what you're saying. Church, again, we go back to historically being the black place to be. Has been the place where folks felt like that people can meet their significant other, and it ends up hurting them just the same if they were to meet them on U Street or on H Street or at Barcode or Rose Bar. It doesn't matter where you meet a man. A man is trash if he gets up on Sunday and go out Saturday night. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. So I feel bad for the women that are in Albert Street looking for somebody, because they probably finding somebody husband.
All right, so hey, good point made here though. Wanda makes a good point. She said, funny thing, 3 years ago today, she met Chris at church.
And unfortunately,
and Chris McKinney is her husband.
And that's absolutely right. Unfortunately, the McKinneys are an outlier. So I hate to break
oh man,
hate to break
y'all not an outlier. There's a few of y'all out there like that. But Chris said, true. Me and Lana met 3 years ago today. Oh wow, that's amazing. Today at church.
Right, but it didn't matter that they met at church. It mattered that they met.
You know what? And you know what? And that's a good point. You have to have conversations.
They would have bonded over their love of God, regardless of if they met at church. The fact of the matter is, people lie in church, they lie in the street.
And Katrina's with us in spirit. She said you can also meet at the gym.
You can meet anywhere.
I met Katrina at the gym.
See, there you go. Y'all met at church, but y'all love God individually and together. And that was the conversation that you all had. Yeah. But frankly, if you met her at church, you might have approached her differently because she was at church.
You got a good point there.
He might have been like, he might have not been able to be himself. Oh, she at church. She don't want to, talk about other things outside. So
Katrina said also meeting at church is beautiful. I agree with that.
Oh, brother.
I agree with that. You know what I'm saying? So, but you know what? Something I will say though is, it doesn't really matter what you meet. You made a good point. You did it from the dark side of the Force. I'm going to try to do it from the Jedi side of the Force. When you meet somebody, no matter where, it could possibly be the club. And you know what? My parents met at a club years and years ago. Now, they've been married for 33 years, right? So it doesn't always happen at a church. But I will tell you what did happen. There was communication, right? And communication is key. When you hear the old heads that have been married 30, 40 plus years, they're like, you got to communicate. They're saying this communication thing time and time again for a reason, right? If you're looking for a real dude, now if y'all just looking to cuff up, you just need to make sure y'all got a couple of streaming subscriptions and you're going to be all right. Because y'all going to end that thing before February 14th anyways, because you ain't trying to pay for that just to go part your separate way. I get it, all right? But for those that think y'all might actually meet the one during this cuffing season, I would implore you to have real conversations. Really get to know a person. Stop trying to check all the boxes. 6-figure salary, 6 foot plus, Coke bottle shade, cooks, cleans, whatever. Some of these things are learned or matriculated through time, but there's things that you really need to understand and learn about a person to fall in love with, right? They say about love, they said, you like because, but you love despite, right? Jewels for y'all. I got that from a movie too, but it stuck with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, something to think about. We about to run out of time. Any final thoughts on?
No. I agree with Katrina. I also think that meeting anyone that you can build with is beautiful. Whether I meet them at Target or at church or anything like that. If I find someone that we align with and I can help her, achieve her dreams and she can support mine, I don't think that has to come from just church. It can come from anywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
love, black love especially is a beautiful thing. I don't want us to as a community to just make it specifically meeting in the climate of Christianity, because we have to be Christian outside of the four walls of the house of the Lord.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I get it. And a true Scorpio said, shout out to Wifey. She said, morals, characteristics, beliefs. I could believe in that. And then from Katrina, she said, what's the difference between meeting for fun versus something serious? I think honestly, if you meet, look, we don't really got the time to go into it, so we're gonna say this for another show. But I will say in close, I'm gonna make a point. I'm gonna let you make a point. I would say you really can't meet somebody for serious. I think you just have to meet someone. You just have to meet someone, and you have to let things organically happen where they're gonna go. I don't think, and because brothers and sisters do this. They meet somebody, oh, IG, we about to sign off. I'm sorry you about to miss the last clip of this. Love y'all, IG, we out. Facebook, YouTube, we still running. I would say when it comes to meeting someone, you just have to meet someone. You don't know if it's going to be serious or not until after you guys dialogue. So don't put so much pressure on trying to make this thing work to be something. Because some things don't reveal themselves to you until time has been spent. So just relax and take it where it is. Stop putting a time frame. And I'm sorry for you sisters out there that are 38 plus, and it's like you got to get married next year. Relax. You know what I'm saying? Like it don't happen that way. Maybe it will, but it's a good chance it won't. So let's let things naturally happen. Steve, any thoughts?
Last point. I understand what you're saying, but when you're dealing with a man who is mature and knows what he wants, he will make his intentions clear, whether he wants something serious.
No, I can agree with that.
So make sure the man is he's able to communicate what he's looking for, so you know how to proceed. That's all I'm saying.
And ladies, to add on to that, because I think that made a good point. That answer may vary from woman to woman. Sometimes, maybe because how you present yourself, or maybe just something that's discovered in conversation, a man may look at you for fun, but he may see somebody else as wifey. That doesn't devalue who you are. It just means for whatever reason in his mind, he just don't see you that way. Some other man may. All right?
That's true.
Some of y'all be getting in y'all feelings. Y'all be like, you know, well, why is so-and-so wifey? Or why does it seem like other girls get picked? And it's not that the other girls got anything on you. It's just that for that man, wherever his mind is, because this is individualized, he may see so-and-so as the one. He may not see you as whatever.
Which means he wasn't the one for you to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? My mom said not true. I'm not sure what she mean there, but I'm pretty sure she gonna call me and let me know after the show where she meant. So, but look, we about to get out of here. I'm hoping that this Sunday service drops. You know, Jesus is King, this new Kanye album. Yeah. I'm upset about it, but in the meantime, I'm gonna play some Jagged Edge, a little love playlist for all y'all who want to be in love. And I'm gonna represent for the brothers this week. I'm gonna have something for the sisters next week. But a lot of your brothers, you gonna shoot your shot. And it's gonna sound a little something like this.
You love me like I can. Trust me.
This is a great album. Matter of fact, I don't know if there's any skits.
No, I think there was no skits in here.
No, it's no skits. Like it's 12 songs you can listen to it straight.
Yeah, it was like no, this is a dope song. It was J.E. Heartbreak. Came out in 2000.
That was a great time for R&B groups too.
Yeah. As the clock strikes 12.